Well, hello, everybody. It's your boy, once again, Sam, a.k.a. the Train Mother in Maine. My layouts and blayouts and glayouts. Oh, Train Maine. Oh, Train Maine. Oh, Train Maine. I am the Train and this is my new layout. I am the Train Mother up in Maine. Yeah. I've said it before and I will say it again. If you don't like my intro, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm glad you're here. And that intro specifically goes out to my friends at the Fostoria, Ohio Model Railroad Club. I met them at the Cleveland Greatest Train Hobby Traveling Show, whatever it's called. And they were nice guys, and that was awesome. Also, shout out to Hilltop Hobby in Akron, Ohio. It's been a while. As you can see, the layout has really progressed. I've done a lot of work. I know I always say a video a month, but I haven't stuck to that for 8, 9, 10 years, whatever now, 10 years probably. So don't hold me to that. But when I update you, it's because there's a good reason to update you. So let's jump right on in. So if you recall, last video was the first video in this new layout series. I make playlists for all the layouts from the first video to the last. So this is a new playlist, second video of layout number 5 or current layout. So you can go check out all the old layout builds from beginning to end. There's 4 long playlists, like 100 and some videos. I started this layout back in the beginning of February and it's mega, super mega. I've gotten the Mainline completely done. A lot of the industry tracks completely done. Everything that's on the layout currently is wired for DCC. Everything is soldered, so I'm able to run trains, continuous loop. I'm able to do some switching and some operations at the industries that are up and running. Still have a lot of track work and industry stuff to do, but since I got the main line running and everything powered for DCC up into the current point, like I said, once I do other stuff, I'll have to wire that as well. But we're able to run trains around the main line. So figured it was time for a good layout update. Also started kind of terraforming things too in a very basic way. Haven't actually begun carving or scenicking the landscape and how it's all going to flow, but very rudimentary style, how I always start. Got some features kind of planned out too, so let's jump right on in. So we'll just start over here. So here's the big Albertville yard over here. We'll get to that. The main line comes through the town and industrial scene. As you can see, there's not really much going on here, but we start at the yard, come through the town and industrial scene, go all the way along the back. There's going to be a backdrop to hide the main line, like on the old layout. You can see it goes through the back, follow my finger, and then comes back again behind a backdrop. It'll come out right there, and then the main lines meet, so it'll be some double track for a little bit. Goes back around here. There'll be some mountains and stuff on the back. I'll show you. Sorry, I'm walking. I don't like to walk with the camera because you guys complain it's shaky, but comes around the back over there. So again, that's where they meet, and it's the same main, but it double tracks for a bit. There'll be a tunnel right there. I'll show you later. Comes back around here. And then we have an actual double track main. It just splits as a long passing siding back here. It's going to be all mountainous. Nice long tunnel. So you've got double track all the way up through here. Just a long passing siding. The outside is the main. And then the main and the passing siding meet right here at the lumber yard. And there's actually a yard for the lumber yard. So the main line and the passing come through, meet right here. The main goes on. But we have a yard and branch line for the lumber yard that comes and meets over here. So a few service tracks, warehouse, sawmill. It's a nice big industry with a big yard. Going to be lots of good switching opportunities in there. And then the main continues. As you can see, I started to kind of landscape. It's going to be all hilly, mountainous. Main line continues and goes right along past the mine, back to the double track, and then back to the yard, and then back over through to where we started. So very long main line, very, very long. It takes a few minutes for trains to run around at scale speeds. I was never one of those guys that had trains going 1,000 miles an hour. So when I have a nice long consist going slow, it takes a couple minutes. So let's start over here in the town and industrial park area, the town of Albertville. Shout out to Uncle Albert. So I've got several building kits ready to go. I haven't actually laid any track in here yet, except for this little spur, for this little industry. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. Some of these buildings I've had, others I've ordered. I have more on the way as well. I've spent way too much money building this new layout. But yeah, so it's going to be, I have a spur right here. That's going to be the branch line to get into town and serve all these industries. It's going to be a lot of track and road crossings and storefronts and all that, town with industries and all that, and kind of just go back into the abyss over here. But we're going to have Main Street, parking lots, some really cool big industries. I'm not sure how everything's going to sit and be set up, but, you know, we're going to configure all of that, especially like something like this guy. I want to have multiple tracks, and it's got a port of entry. So whether I do tracks on that side or on the other side, loading dock down here. So it's a lot of points of interest on the layout, and I just kind of like having it here for the trains to run by for now. And then just some standard Walthers kits and stuff. So nothing really going on here yet, but as you can see, there's going to be a lot of room for, you know, Main Street and all the other stuff going through it. I did put a small passing siding in here, as well as, like I said, this lead to get to this little industry down here. And then another little kind of like a deadline or storage track for maintenance of way. I'm honestly thinking about potentially putting a small scrapyard scene kind of right in here. So this lead would be for the scrapyard. If not, it's just all completely old. Everything on this passing siding, actually, the main line's the main, but everything on this passing siding is all old, crappy track that I save. When I rip up my layouts, I save all my old track as much as possible. I salvage my turnouts as much as possible. I did lose a few on the last layout that I ripped up coming into this one, but there's right now, I probably have to count, but probably 40 to 50 turnouts on the layout, and about half of those, maybe 2/3 of those came from the old layout. So when you're recycling track, be very careful, especially with turnouts, because I've already spent several $100s on new turnouts that I needed anyway. But if I was not able to salvage the turnouts from my old layout, I mean, they cost 20 to 30 bucks a piece. It would have cost me a lot more money. And I spent, I'm in the hole on this layout so far, for sure. I guess you always are because you buy stuff, but if I can reuse turnouts on multiple layouts, this is the first time I ever reused turnouts. Every other layout I've sold, so they went with the track to the new home. But I was able to pull 95% of the turnouts from the old layout I salvaged, and the ones I couldn't are because I rushed and broke them, or because they were already defunct, because they were bent or warped, or the solder got to the frogs and ruined them. So saved me a lot, but I'd estimate right now there's at least 60 turnouts on here, and I'm going to need probably another 30 or 40 for especially down in here. So just saying, I save all my track, the turnouts. I pretty much save everything possible and keep it in different boxes, like scenic materials and, you know, even old roadbed that can be reused, because as long as it looks good and functions properly, once there's scenery over it, you're never going to know. This track is all old and beat up and stuff. And so when I actually go to scenic and ballast it, it's going to look, I was going to make it look like that anyway. So it's already kind of got the effect that I want. But yeah, so again, you know, we've got this lead and then passing siding. And I'm really thinking about, like I said, either like a maintenance of way or a little storage or rip track and or bad order track. But I'm thinking I might just make this like a scrapyard scene. You know, maybe throw one more siding in there for some scrap gons or something like that. So, but yeah, again, a lot of room to play with over here. I have several more buildings and kits and stuff on the way, industrial. Somehow I'm going to make it like a town kind of Main Street thing too. Haven't really gotten to that yet, but I'm not really worried about track working here at all right now. It's fishing season and outdoor season, so I'm honestly anticipating I likely won't start laying track and getting the design of this area for a while, which is fine. I'm not rushing this layout at all. So it's going to be fun though. Very big scene, a lot of switching opportunities. Industrial town, all of that. So, and then we'll move over here to the Albertville yard. I still have to do some track work in here, but everything's laid and wired. And I have a few more yard tracks to lay. I'm going to try and fill it out as much as possible, but we got the main and then the inbound and outbound tracks And then the actual yard starts right here. I've got one track laid right now, and we're going to probably put 5 or 6 more up in there. So, this is 2 feet and change wide, 25 inches, I think. So the backdrop will be right about here. So we're going to fill it out as much as possible. So yeah, so main and then inbound, outbound. The layout goes west and east. So westbound and eastbound. I'm not really that particular with operations. I just do it for fun. But, so that's kind of how I've designated things. But yeah, it's a nice long yard. As I've said, this section from behind me in the corner to that corner is just under 16 feet. It's like 15.8, 15.9, and it's just over 2 feet wide, about 25 inches. So it starts almost all the way at the end. I wanted some straightaway coming into the yard throat. And then same thing down here, a little less, but I wanted some nice main to make these nice big swooping curves. That's another good point I should make. On my previous layouts, I never really cared about my turn radiuses. I'm sorry this looks like a mess. There's a lot of glue that dried wrong because I had to pull up this section for exactly what I'm about to mention because the turn radius wasn't good enough. I would use Bachmann or Kato sectional track and then Atlas sectional track and kind of mix everything together. On the last layout and this layout, I'm exclusively using Atlas, Flex Track, and Pico turnouts. I've been using Pico turnouts for a long time, and they're the best in the business. Insulfrog to wire for DCC. But every turn on the layout, whether it's for an industry or on the mains, are 11-inch radius, and I've made sure of that. Like I said, right here, it was about 10 and change. The minimum radius that I found works for my 6-axle locomotives is 11 inches. Anything smaller, they just derail, or the flanges just kind of hug the turn and it runs like crap. Anything bigger, and I don't really have the room based on the dimensions of my layout, I could have expanded it more, but 11 inches runs fine. I've tested it with my longest rolling stock, my auto racks, my 6-axle locomotives, my passenger cars. Some of them are 6 truck. So all of my longest cars, I've got them all out here. Got some 6-axle locomotives up here. So 11 inches before I ever laid or soldered or glued down any track. I tested some radius. 19 was too much. 11 is perfect. 9 3/4 is too small for all of you that buy sectional track. So every turn on the entire layout is 11 inches, and the radius is perfect for 6-axle and for my longest cars. So I'm very happy with that. And like I said, I took the time to make sure every turn was properly in place. So we're going to have the locomotive and car shop, then another car shop. As I said, I've been collecting more buildings. Some of these are from the old layout. Some of them are new kits. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put the diesel shop and car shop kind of down here and make a scene out of it, or down on that side. This is the industrial lead to get into there. So I also have a lead coming off here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I did the same thing down there, just another matching lead. And again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them, but they're there, they're wired. So we'll see. But again, a nice big yard. I'm going to be able to store some really long trains, do some nice sorting of cars and putting together trains and taking them apart. So finally, I've had yards on previous layouts, but they were always too small for my capacity because I would build a layout and then expand it. So every time I'd expand, if I just had this, then I add that, there's more cars in industries and this and that, blah, blah, blah. So you know what I'm saying. So finally, I'll have space, and all those industries will be able to hold cars, plus having the big yard to hold cars and the repair shop, blah, blah, blah. So going to be awesome. So I'm thinking I'll probably do the diesel shop and car repair shop, all that, caboose track, deadline, probably do all that in this space. And again, there'll be that wood backdrop to hide the main line behind there. So it's still looks like a point to point, but it's actually a continuous loop. So that's kind of it for the yard. Nothing really special there. Like I said, main line, east, inbound, west, inbound, outbound, whatever, who knows. And then the yard, it kind of itself starts right there. And I got a lot of flex track ready to go. Pico track and Atlas track. Atlas track is nice, but it's a lot more difficult to use, I noticed, than the Pico flex track. So the difference with the Pico flex track as well is that it has brown ties, which I like. and the Atlas has black ties. I'm going to paint all the track anyway, but they're pretty much about the same price, about $4.50 to $6 a piece, depending where you buy it. But the Atlas track is 30 inches and the Pico Flex track is 36 inches. So 2.5 feet for like $5 or 3 feet for like $5. It comes with brown ties and it's easier to use in my opinion. I know it's still Flex track, but it's just more pleasing to use. I've just noticed that. It's the first time I've used the Pico Flex. I've used Atlas Flex before plenty of times, but I think exclusively from now on I'm going to go with the Pico Flex. Again, brown ties. It's 3 feet long instead of 2.5 feet long, and it's within $1 at the most of the same price. $5.12 a piece or $5.47 a piece, whatever. So, but yeah, I've got plenty of each to finish the yard and then get started on the industrial valley over there. Like I said, all the track is laid around the entire layout, which is nice. I just have to finish the yard, and then once the yard is done, I'm going to do that sooner than later. And then I have to come up with a track plan and layout design for the industrial Main Street Valley, the town of Albertville, because I don't have all the buildings and stuff yet. I'm in acquisition mode, so over the next few months, I'm just going to keep looking for good deals, buying kits, and once I have enough stuff to fill out the scene is when I'll actually come off the lead and start doing track work. So that's just going to kind of be as is for now, and no problem. But I'll finish up the yard here sooner than later, and yeah, the focal point of operations, so for the layout. So coming down over here, the main, and then the main will come from behind the backdrop, probably start the hilly mountainous terrain over here. They meet. Let me turn on this light too. And I have these nice shop lights over the entire layout. I had them on the old one too. And when we remodeled, you can watch the basement remodel video here on the channel. We had the recessed lighting put in, so it's well lit around the entirety. But they meet right here. And then I'm going to have a nice long tunnel feature right here. Not sure if it's going to be as long from here to there, but nice tunnel in here. And then a bridge with a water feature either on this side or on the outskirts of it. I'm not sure where yet, but nice and hilly, scenic terrain. Then we come over here. We'll stick to the inside for now. We got the mine. So it's got nice long leads. So I'll be able to pull coal trains in here, do some switching, pull them out. Nice long coal unit trains, which will be nice. Pull them through the tipples. And I got some other tipples and kits and stuff I'm going to build. So it's going to be not just like my old Three River mine scenes that everybody has. There's going to be a lot more to it. But I'll be able to pull unit trains in and out, and then do switching and do all that as well. So we've got the lead right here. And then we've got two nice long branches with passing sidings. So they'll be able to do some storage, pull the unit trains through, and just do some switching. If I don't want to just pull a train through, I can just do, filling cars and whatnot. Because a lot of times on my old layouts as well, a lot of people will do just like stub end tracks at each of the tipples and just have some auxiliary tracks and whatnot. But I want to run unit trains, and I have in the past, but you can't run a unit train with stub end service tracks. So I hate looking at the layout through the camera because there's just dry glue everywhere because I made a mess in a few spots. So if it looks like crap, I apologize. But obviously you've seen my work, so you know it'll look way better. But yeah, so nice big mine scene. The main comes through the bottom. And yeah, being able to pull trains through and load or just load cars without pulling a train through. It'll be a lot of fun. Everything, again, is wired and soldered. Some of the switches look like crap too because they were pulled from the old layout. Like I said, there's still some ballast and stuff in there. But so you can see kind of, again, like I said, I started to kind of terraform with extra foam that I had. So it's going to kind of be like valley scene. Everything's going to be tapered to this side. Mainly starting kind of right back here, and then coming this way. I try to separate the scenes back there because the main goes or comes from that way. Then we come over here, and again, the main goes through the inside, and then that's the long passing siding right there. But we have the branch line and the full service yard for the lumber mill, so comes off right here, and then we have two long yard tracks, and then a nice long branch line that goes all the way through the yard back to the main. So starts right here, comes through, goes all the way around back to the main right there. So we have nice 2 long tracks and then a nice warehouse track right here. And then be able to store some cars here. And I think this is all going to be like, paved over. So there'll be just the rails and it'll be like a flat parking lot. So there'll be cars sitting here, center beams and gondolas and box cars. So it'll be like at eye level, you won't even see the ties and stuff. So it'll run all the way through, but it'll be like parking lot style. I think it's going to come out really cool. And we got, the lumber mill scene, the saw tables, and the lumber racks. I've got a couple tracks over here for the table and the racks. It'll kind of have either car. If they're loading wood, it'll be center beams and whatnot. If they're taking logs off, it'll be log carriers and all of that. So, and then the warehouse, take box cars and whatnot. And I'm going to have it all raised up too. So the roadbed will be the base level for the track and for the building. So everything will sit higher because right now the buildings are sitting lower than track level. But super cool scene as well. I also like how it's on a curve around the turn over here and goes into the main over there. It's not just like, I could have just done it straight here and went that way, but I wanted as long of a main line run as possible. So I knew I wanted the lumber mill in this general area. I did the main line first around the entire layout and then decided where I wanted the industries as I got to points. I'm like, I want the mine in that area somewhere on either side. And I want the lumber mill in the peninsula somewhere. As well as, like I said, I wanted this whole section. Because on the old layout, this was my yard. But with the turn there and then the crappy radius turn here, the yard was only like 5 feet or less long with no room to do anything. My longest spur could hold like 6 or 7 cars at the most. So having it all planned out ahead of time, roughly, once I started laying the main is where I put my switches in for potential industry tracks, and it worked out really well planning ahead like that. So just another big point of interest. And again, you could see it's going to kind of valley in here and then down here and here. Then we come back into the main line right here. And again, this is the long passing siding that goes all the way back to over in the corner. And the reason I did that is because I figured it would be nice. I needed a really long passing siding on the main. I didn't want a double track main. It's just too much flex track, too costly, too much maintenance and wiring. And it's just one more big headache. Plus, it takes up so much room. And really, there's not really many double track mains anywhere except like when you start to go out west and there's hot shot intermodals and all that, roaring across the plains or coming from the coal mines in the Dakotas where there's multiple unit trains going both directions each day. Most main lines, especially, this is modeled after like a 60s, 70s, 80s Pennsylvania short line. There was steam and it moved into diesel. They're all single track mains and have some passing siding. So trying to be prototypical. But yeah, so it's nice and long, but figure since the lumberyard and the mine are both in proximity, it can be an interchange track as well. There's going to be a switcher based at both of these industries. So for interchange purposes, there could be a nice coal unit train here ready to come. There could be a nice coal unit train here ready to come or go. And then same thing with the lumber, so when something's coming through to either drop stuff off or pick it up, it can leave it on the passing siding. And also when I'm doing work at either or, I can have any mainline trains coming through go on the passing siding if I need to foul the main for whatever reason. So worked out in multiple ways. I can still run continuous trains while switching, and I can store an extra train there, and I can also interchange. So worked out very well. So going to have another tunnel feature right here somewhere in this range. And then I'm thinking about doing another bridge over a water feature like in here somewhere. But again, it's going to be tall. This is all 2-inch foam, so 2 inches is the base, and then another 2 inches. Probably going to do 6 inches in some places and taper it down into 4 inches and kind of have it roll, because I don't really want to be able to see. Obviously, if you're standing on top of it, you're going to be able to see over. But from like real perspective, I don't really want to be able to see what's on the other side of the hills. So maybe I'll even go to 8 inches in a few spots. Not the whole entire thing, but they're also very narrow and not as wide as my old peninsula. was just one big mountain, and there was so much surface area that since it's more narrow here, the ground cover and paint, it's not going to need as much. So that'll make it interesting. We'll see. I want to do a lot of flat land, kind of prairie too, at the base of them, but just have to see how it all plays out. I'm completely out of pink foam now, so my main goals before I start terraforming the rest of it, I want to get the yard tracks laid, so that'll be done. And then again, I'm going to leave that as it is for now until I get the rest of my buildings and kits in, and then maybe late summer, early fall, when the weather starts to change and it's layout season again, I'll get to that. But priorities right now are get the yard finished and wired, and then acquire more buildings and stuff for over here, and then go buy some more pink foam and really start the basic terraforming, so that by the time next real layout season comes, because I really work hardcore on the layout in the wintertime. Other than that, I'm a big outdoorsman, so I'll still work on things, which if you subscribe for a while, but in the spring and summer and early fall, I'll still do updates and work on it, but definitely not as hardcore as winter. So gonna really kind of die things down for a little bit, just do slow stuff, and I'll still update when applicable, but I want to, do my other hobbies as well. So yeah, that's kind of the goals for right now. Finish the yard and then acquire buildings and rolling stock and trains like I always am. And then we'll finish like the terraforming, at least basically, because getting it all square and just not carved in place is the first step. And then obviously start to carve it and sculpt and mold it so you know what it's going to look like. And then once that's all done, then you can actually start to paint it and scenic it. And if you know from my previous layouts, carving this foam, and if you know from my previous layout builds, carving the foam and using the sculpt mold, I call it Foamageddon because it's the messiest and most arduous part of the layout build. And I like to do that all in just one weekend. Each of the last couple of layouts I've done, I got everything in place and then went to town for 2 straight days and made the biggest mess of all time and then cleaned it up. Plus the basement's redesigned and remodeled now. So I always kept the old basement clean, but it never looked or felt clean because it was 1970 down here. Now that the basement's redone and it's nice and cozy and flashy down here, and I finally bought myself a nice shop vac after 10 years of model railroading. I'm really not looking forward to making a big foam mess. I might use more sculpt mold this time versus carving the foam just to avoid having pink foam all over everything. So like I said, we'll get to that. So yeah, I guess I could have run a train this entire time. I know I did a little bit in the intro, but I've got some points figured where I need to actually finish soldering some wiring and fix some joints that aren't 100% in place yet. Everything's in place and wired, but it's not all permanently ready to go yet. I still have some work to do, like in this section. So I've been testing switches and wiring switches. So I've been having a lot of derailments like an idiot for not having my main line cleared. So I'm like, I really don't need to be messing with the train right now. But yeah, maybe next video I will run some trains and show you the long run around the layout. But yeah, you can see it's nice being even bigger than the last one. The last layout, I didn't think I could build any bigger. And it was actually my fiance's idea. I kept wanting to expand because the old layout ended here and it was just a dead end branch line. She's like, why don't you come out this way? And my old peninsula came out here off of there. I'm like, I can't do something like this without ripping apart and reconfiguring this peninsula and here. So I'm like, I want a bigger layout, or I want to expand, and it would just be easier to just start fresh with the bench work in place. I could have even went bigger here, but I wanted to be able to actually manage it and be contained in it. If it was wider this way or wider this way or that way, I could still reach to any point on the layout from any corner because of the dimensions that I have messed with for several layouts. It's all trial and error to know what works best. So probably going to wrap it up here, I guess. I appreciate all of you being subscribed for so long. I think 10 years now, give or take. Still going to continue to update as possible. Still going to continue to update as much as possible, but it is not layout season right now. So, and I always say I'll update frequently, and I never do. I don't have a set schedule, but feel free if you have any tips or tricks, Tony Hawk style, or any questions, ask me in the comments below. Let me know if you like anything or don't like anything, or have any criticism, I'm all open and for it. I appreciate all of you being here. Please subscribe, like, all of that. And we'll see you sooner than later. But at least for now, I'm able to run trains, do some simple operations over at the mine and the lumber yard and the yard itself. So I'm having fun in the meantime. And we'll see you sooner than later, hopefully. Please subscribe, like, let me know what you like or don't like, all of that. And we'll see you sooner than later. I don't really know how to wrap this up, but Train Main out.